It's day 9 daily number 44. My camera's low. Wow. The day 9 daily number 448, where we learn to be a better gamer. Taking a look at MarineKingPrime, opened up, doing this fairly unstandard mixture of Hellions and Banshees and all that good jazz. Where are the Banshees? Yeah, Hellion, Banshee, Marauder. Look at that unit mix. These 6 Marines were only just recently made. And I will note, as a brief aside, I think that the more weird Terran strategies that we've been seeing lately are largely thanks to how comfortable players can get an earlier expansion. It used to be when StarCraft 2 first came out that it was almost impossible to get an expansion up, and the only way to do it was to build a ton of really basic units. Like, if you early expanded as Protoss, you had to build a lot of gateway units. If you early expanded as Terran, you had to build almost only Marines. So it's that sort of thing that I think has been really shattered by the expanding sizes of maps, where now players can do these sorts of weird things that we see MKP doing, this Banshee Hellion stuff, actually having the funds to do so. And there's some kind of funky formations going on in the base, like this abandoned tech lab, but still it's pretty important to be able to get the Marine production started and to reactor up the starport. But remember, what did we say was the big consistency of our entire game? Going for the long term. So yeah, we're going for these upgrades stupidly early, and we're going to make damn sure that that armory ends up finishing up right on time. Going to make damn sure of that. I'm going to come back a little bit to the MKPking and to no one else. We don't actually need siege mode this early. This is kind of like one of these consistency things. If we're keeping him shoved all the way back, we don't need siege mode until these units will stop being useful. In other words, we don't really need to push, or we don't really need to worry about siege mode until he has Mutalisks up. Look how great these Banshees are in this circumstance, just knocking out a ton of these roaches. And of course, there's another reason we don't need siege mode is because we have a ton of units anyways. And at this point, MKP can honestly play pretty intuitively. I see a lot of roaches still. I can keep making Marauders. As I push, I add on my good old siege tech. And notice how brilliant this timing is. Right as 1-1 finished, we obviously start 2-2, but we have the window to do some kind of push. He doesn't even have combat shield yet at 13 minutes. So awesome. So frickin' awesome. So, ends up getting right to the front right now. And this is one of these times when it's good to know your usual timing windows. As we pop back a little bit to this 12:10 mark. Notice that while this push was happening, the Spire was just now finishing. Around 12:30-ish is when it's typical for a player to get a Spire if he went for a fast third. Around 10 minutes tends to be a little bit more common for a player who's just going 2-base Mutalisk. So MKP with this weirdness is actually begging for this to happen. Remember how many times I said at the start in part 1, we almost, or like any all-in he does, we can easily shut down with Hellion Banshee. And here we have shut it down. Look at this 16 kill, 17 kill Banshee. That is not mainly drones, that's mainly big units like Banelings and Roaches. And of course, this scan. So right now is a really nice time to attack. Since we haven't seen Mutalisks, sure, we can maybe throw down one turret, but I don't see any turrets here. MarineKingPrime has been aggressive start to finish, and didn't even need to scout in the first place. Oh, the timing magnificence! I just can't believe how good this is. And this weird composition all kind of ties together, but still this core of Marine tank always going to be at the forefront. What I'm going to be doing is just kind of speeding through the rest of the game, because at this point in time, even as I pause, back here everything's looking more and more normal. We have 5 barracks, 3 with reactor, 2 with tech lab, still haven't gotten combat shield. We're getting 2-2, pretty damn fast 2-2 upgrade, taking another expansion, and just churning out units from all our various production facilities. not being too over-eager, I would say one of the hallmarks of a super good player is one who kills off a base and then pulls back for another timing. Kills off this base, probably going to wait till we have 2-2 and then do another big push. Going to scout for other expansions. So good. So brilliant. So in other words, MarineKingPrime started off, played like a nutcase, but it all swam comfortably back. The most noteworthy aspects, I feel, are this early third combined with the commitment to Hellion Banshee, plus this ridiculously early set of upgrades. I feel like often people will do one or the other, but not both. Sure, this is dealing us lots of damage, but this is the joy of being MarineKingPrime. If you get too over-aggressive, I just attack and out-micro you to death. God, he's good at that. Eventually we clean up, still getting 3-3. Both attacks happened right when the upgrades finished. 2-2, 1-1. And now we're cleaning this up, and I guarantee, if MKP clears out this hatch... by the way, I love how he just stood there and took it, and is like really comfortably killing that off. But yeah, look, kills it off, pulls it right on back. So despite all the seeming insanity, we saw some themes happen. All his attacks happened at timings right when upgrades finished. Ding, 1-1 finished, attack. 2-2 finished, attack. Same theme that we saw many times once the expansion was dead. Pulled right on back to reinforce. Pulled right on back to reinforce. And again, the weirdities, just to re-highlight, because we're going to see some of them again in game number 2, is... as he's building these Hellions, he commits hard to building Hellions. He has 4 up here. Hellions 5 and 6 are popping out right now. There's 5 and 6. And he even goes for Hellions 7 and 8 while expanding. It's so tempting to say, oh, I have 4 Hellions, I have map control. MKP, goodness no. He makes certain he has map control hard. 8 Hellions, 1 Banshee, 2 Banshees coming out. He is now all-in proof. Any attack for the next long time, these 2 units will deflect. So this Expo and this, not only do they both come from this early Hellion Banshee, or how do I say it? Let me try it again. The Hellion Banshee not only allow for the expansion, because he can't attack us, and allow for the 2 eBays, because he can't attack us, but also the expand and the eBays both make sense together. That's, I think, probably the biggest point I want to make. Yeah. It's not just that he's able to get away with all this stuff. It's that all the things that he's choosing to get away with function very, very nicely together. He could very well build 4 barracks and get reactors on all of them and have all the time in the world to get the barracks and the reactors done. Yeah, sure, Hellion Banshee allows for the time to build 4 barracks and get 4 sets of reactors on them. But that does not exactly align as well with the expansion as the 2 eBays do. Or he could go 2 eBays and 4 barracks, and that still, it wouldn't align as well. One is strength now, the eBays are strength later. eBays strength later, and expand strength later. Cool, right on. Alright, let's go ahead and go on to game number 2. And also, I just wanted to make sure if the audio is doing okay for everyone as I load up the next game. If the audio is doing okay, type 9. If it's doing poorly, type 5. That's right. I'm hoping to see 9s. If there's 5s, it's gonna be rough. Oh, I'm getting 9s. Ugh. Yes. Okay, you can stop typing. It's one of those tragedies that ends up happening with streaming, where if it's not working properly for 20 people, all of them are going, oh, it's not working, crisis, ah. But if it's working for the other 1,000 people, those 1,000 just like don't say anything. It's just totally quiet. If you're having an issue with the audio, just refresh the stream. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at another completely different game from MKP, where we're going to watch him go mech against Zerg. This map, this was from the winner's bracket, but MKP is playing on the map Dual Site. We're again going to see kind of some similar themes, but they're going to manifest in a much different way, which is what excites me and delights me so much about his wonderful, adorable MKP self. The map is dual site, and I'll just state for a moment, one of the reasons mech works well on this map is that the distances from my half to your half are not very big. Just look at the mini-map. I'm going to be generally on the top of the map. You're generally going to be on the bottom of the map. So the distance from the top to the bottom is not very big. If for some reason it was a map like dual site and it was across from the right to the left, mech would be much harder. I don't want to say it's right or it's wrong. I just want to say it's easier on this map and harder on others just because of those distances. So let's go ahead and watch some more weird decision making. MKP again is going to do these weird moves involving big mass map positioning doohickeys. There he is killing off the drone. Ah, we didn't get it. Cool. He's going to do these odd map control moves to an extreme. But because he's seizing map control super hard, he's able to get away with a lot more than other Terran buddies would. Oh my god, 2 in the gas. Oh my god, 3 in this gas, 2 in that gas. Oh, it is so embarrassing. Oh my god, a GSL Code S embarrassment. No, there he is. He's putting the guy in gas. Woo! Woo! Oh, man. Oh, wow. Can I just pause for a moment and just have a little bit of good brotherly bonding time, or sisterly, depending if there's any ladies watching, for that game that you played where you lost and were like, God, how did he manage to, how did he win? And then you go back and you had 2 in gas. Oh, how many times? How many times has that happened to you? Way too many. If even it's happened 5 times, that's 5 painful memories burned into your skull. You know what's the worst experience? When you get done with that tournament that you practiced for so much, and you had 2 in the gas in that key game you lost. Why didn't I have enough lurkers? Well, you had 2 in gas, Brood War guy. Brutal. Now, I will say there are some builds where you want 2 in both geysers. Like 2 in this one, 2 in this one. With this particular build, this is actually a little bit behind. This is a little bit behind. And more importantly, the 2 in gas is also not as pronounced in StarCraft 2 because, in a sense, your main has 5 in gas instead of 6. It's kind of incorrect to say 2 in gas instead of 3. But in Brood War, you would have 2 in gas instead of 3, and that would completely ruin your life. Or just your tournament. Oh. But yeah, make sure that you have plenty in gas. Alright, excellent. So we see MarineKingPrime opening up fairly similarly. Relatively fast command center. Not command center before barracks, but still about as fast as we can. And there's the reactor coming up. We're also getting this second factory right away, straight away, and I'm even going to come back to the MKP cam and demonstrate that we do not have any freaking vision of what our opponent is doing. I will say these should be raised for the time being, these 2 depots. Notice just how subtle and brilliant this is. We have the Marine patrolling here to pick off an Overlord, make sure that that's not coming too early. And now we see MarineKing begin the steps towards meching by going for Blue Flame Hellion. Now, at this point in time, I will note again what standard is in this position. In the last game, what is standard if we want to be going for a lot of barracks? Marine, tank, medevac. That's our standard mixture. For mech, what ends up being very standard is to build some Hellions just to kind of get map control, and then begin building some of these power units like the siege tank, most importantly of all, the Thor, because if we don't have our Thors up, we have no way to deal with Mutalisks, right? So we certainly want that. Players will generally build like 6 to 10 Hellions, Sometimes they stop. Around 6 to 8 is what's traditionally the Hellion stopping amount before we start really going heavy into the big units. And in fact, what sometimes players will do when they go mech is they'll have 2 factories, 1 tech lab, the other factory has no add-on. That way, we can build our Hellions at the start for map control, just as we see here. And then when we need to start building Thors, we can get the second tech lab add-on and start building Thors 2 at a time. Again, the traditional logic is that I need to focus on the Thors and the tanks. I need those because they're the most important thing to my entire production shenanigan thing. MKP is going to show us how much more important map control ends up being. Oh god, he got supply block rats. So, again, let's list off a couple of possibilities. He can be going for some big Zergling Baneling play before. Well, actually, again, 3 basic categories when we're kind of hanging out at the 7-minute and 19-second mark. He can either be doing some sort of big early attack, or... Oh, God, my nose itches so bad. Oh, that felt good. He can either be going for some sort of early all-in-ish attack. Lots of Zerglings, lots of slow Banelings, lots of slow Roaches. That's one. Can be going for a delayed layer, focusing on Roaches, or focusing on Zerglings and upgrades, Stefano style. Or he can be going for kind of a fast layer relying on Zerglings. These are the 3 basic categories. So, at this point in time, we could be a little bit worried, maybe, about some Roaches coming in to invade, but not really. Not at the 7-minute 30-second mark. Come to the everyone cam. DRG has himself a really nicely turtled little setup here. But 49 drones, he has been droning ridiculously hard and is super on the defensive. If you start trying to go Roaches too early, you will just not have this amazing, astounding economy. I want to note how good the economy is and how little else DongRaeGu has. He has no Zerglings. He's just started Zergling speed. He sacrificed that. He has not begun an upgrade here. He has a 3rd hatch almost done. I mean, his economy is amazing, don't get me wrong. It's so good, but he can't both be pushing with Roaches and have that ragingly good economy. So MKP does some cool smart person stuff and just continues to keep building Hellions, but he keeps the Hellions hidden. And now that he has this huge number of Hellions, let's describe the situation right here before we end up seeing anything. This is the important moment. So he's probably not doing any sort of big all-in. I mean, he still could be, but we have no knowledge of what he's doing. Hellions buy us time. What did we do in the last game to help us buy time and go for the long term? We got that 3rd base. We got the double E-base. Again, we see same kind of thing. Double armory from MKP. Now, if our opponent was going Mutalisks, he would have his hands full defending back home. This is the time where most Terran players stop building Hellions and they start building the anti-air. They're going to try to do some damage right here. Killed off 6 workers, not too much else. But MKP still keeps on building Hellions. Hey, what else is in line with long-term upgrade-focused play? We saw that last game. Oh, an expansion! The consistency across all the big, broad decision-makings is remarkable. In the last game, we saw it more bio-focused. In this game, we see it more mech-focused, but it's still the same damn idea. And once again, he could be going for some sort of scary all-in, but we would have seen it by now. If he's doing an all-in, anyone else see that screen flicker? Man, I'm gonna have epilepsy. Holy crap! You know what? I'm just moving over here. Oh, it's just so distracting. Virtually anything he does with Lings or Banelings, we just kill because we have so many Hellions, and we can easily out-micro the Banelings, and we can just kill the Zerglings. But with Roaches, that's the only slightly concerning thing. They're gonna be slow Roaches. They just can't possibly be fast Roaches and have a ragingly good economy. So in fact, MKP is super safe right now. God, that is just giving me epilepsy. That is just brutal. I don't know who designed those things. Holy cow. Can I turn that down in some sort of effect? You guys see that flicker? I'm gonna go insane. Woo! A Zergling made it into the main, an impressive feat. But still we see MarineKingPrime not abandoning this reactor. I, personally, if I was just left in a room for all time to try to figure out Terran vs. Zerg, it would never dawn on me to keep this factory churning out this entire time. I would be saying something like, well, yeah, he has to be going either Infestor or Mutalisk or something. 10 minutes is right about when Mutalisk can start coming out. I better make sure I'm aware of that sort of thing. Not MKP. Give me the Hellions, baby. Hellions. I just want you to know. And of course, continuing to get more geysers. I haven't really focused too much on the geyser timing. I don't care as much about that as I do about the broad strategy thingies. And MKP also is not over-preparing for Mutalisks that he doesn't know about yet. We will see an engineering bay, I believe, pop down at some point, but I think he's just going to rely on a mass-repaired Thor. But most importantly, far more than the, do I have things to shoot at the Mutalisks, MKP says, I have Hellions that can distract the Mutalisks. What if right now MKP saw Mutalisks? He could cancel this tank, build a Thor, start an eBay, and build 2 turrets. And maybe lift this command center and float it back, and build 2 turrets here. And then with these Hellions, distract. I just love the consistency of all of this. I'm focusing on long-term play and just making sure that I keep you back at your own damn base. I'm going to start out with Hellions and Blue Flame Hellions and more Hellions. I'm going to keep making Hellions, and I just keep making Hellions. MKP has all the time in the world and all the flexibility to build whatever he needs to. In the first game we saw, a lot of that was, if I see roaches, I can build some Marauders, build another Banshee maybe, and then be pretty comfortable. Or if he's going Zerglings, I make more Hellions and start my Marines earlier. In this game, it's the same idea, it's just with mech units, and I love that. So great. So we're going to go on to a break, and when we come back for part 3, we're going to finish this game and take questions, and then do the After Hours Gaming League Consolation Finals. Ha! An excellent part 2. Here we go!